Get ready for Solomon's Porch Podcast. Hey, giving the glory to God. Yeah, you're hanging with Jason and Shawn. Get ready for Solomon's Porch.
Come on, common sense.
One of the things I shared whenever I was kind of talking about this briefly during our volunteer gathering before church on Sunday, I shared that psalm, and then I shared this scripture from 1 Kings 3, which I referenced in our study of James. And so Solomon's talking to God. He says, "Give me an understanding heart so that I can govern your people well and know the difference between right and wrong. For who by himself is able to govern these great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon asked for wisdom. So God replied, "Because you have asked for wisdom in governing my people with justice and have not asked for long life or wealth or death of your enemies, I will give you what you asked for. I will give you a wise and understanding heart, such as no one else has ever had or ever will have." And then it goes on with some more stuff. But essentially, God was pleased with Solomon because he said, "Look, give me the wisdom to properly have authority and kind of delegate everything amongst your people." And so, like, I'm hoping that pastors are coming to this and thinking, "Lord, I'm not fearing this COVID-19, but what's the wise thing to do, God, to protect your people?"
Yeah.
And so, like, it sucks that churches are not able to meet right now. I hate that. But, and one of the reasons why I hate it is because people aren't going to tithe and offer right now.
Right.
We are such a consumer Christian economy to where it's like, well, if I'm not going to go to church and receive the word, or they're not going to take care of my kids on Sunday or Wednesday, I ain't giving them a dime. You still got pastors that need to eat. You still got bills that's got to be paid, mortgages, lights. Like, these things still, there's still a bottom line cost that has to be met whether you meet or not.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that I was talking to my pastor briefly about the other day. I was like, man, I really pray that our people are financially literate enough to understand that we still have to pay we still have to keep the functioning going.
Well, and even with that, I mean, that's sort of an ongoing issue with folks that have more of like an online presence of getting their teaching or their worship. So the one that comes to mind mostly is Redemption's iChurch. And they kind of struggle with tithing as well, just in general. And they're meeting right now, of course. But the problem is that people are like, "Oh, well, but I'm not being somewhere." You don't understand how much it costs to actually put on a video.
Web servers are expensive.
Yeah, and to have the kind of quality that, for instance, that iChurch has. I don't know that anybody else is doing it quite to that degree, but you're still talking about some very expensive equipment that you have to be able to pay for, and then people that still have to be there to do those things, and a pastor that still leads. And so, trying to get folks' perspective in line to say that, this is a time that you may not be physically in presence, but that your support is still needed, and there are still other avenues. I think that's one of the things that folks are not being as creative about, I guess. I hear a lot more of, hey, I get a month off from church.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Whatever. But, so again, small groups. Frankly, even if it's just you're meeting up with, a friend to be able to discuss maybe a specific verse or a daily devotional that you're reading together, and you're going to go have coffee with them or something like that. You can't get coffee anywhere right now.
Sit in your living room and have coffee.
Yeah, you
or outside.
Or you can drive through and sit in the car and do it.
Yeah.
But, again, that's sort of that creativeness, that's that saying, okay, well, I'm going to use what opportunities there are, what things are available to me, and do this. And yeah, you know what happened to those days when people used to go over to someone's house and sit down and chat and have coffee, But even still having those kinds of conversations, even online, so whether
Skype chats with like 4 or 5 or 10 people, however many you can hold.
Absolutely. And that's important, and finding some of those other online resources like iChurch. I keep saying that because it's the only one that really comes to mind.
Well, I think about it, and even like like Matt Chandler, and this is kind of going to this is my defending the people that have large online communities that ask for resources to help provide for that, because it does cost a lot of money. Even Matt Chandler, like at the beginning of his YouTube stuff, he's like, look, we appreciate you checking this out. We want this to be an online resource, an additional resource, not a replacement of a local community of believers.
Right.
He's like, but we do ask that you, sow back into the ministry because it costs money for engineers, video editors, servers, like all these things cost money. So especially right now, like if churches are having to do this, a lot of churches are understanding the server issue. Like our church, our local church, they had like 900 people logged into the first sermon of like a 2-sermon time frame, and a lot of people had issues because it couldn't hold that many people watching at one time.
Right.
So and we didn't. I didn't mean for this to become a money thing, but it is one thing that churches are going to be suffering through right now because we are a consumer economy.
And admittedly, some folks that aren't getting paid but can't work. So understandably, those folks aren't going to be tithing. They're having to try to hold on to some of those resources, and so we're not trying to bash those folks or anything like that.
That's true.
You need to do what it is that the Lord leads you to do in those situations, but we are pleading to the rest of the folks that look, be mindful of this. Remember that these things still need to be taken care of. So if you are the fortunate folks that are still getting paid or able to continue to still work, please continue to support your ministries as well.
And I would kind of caution the whole "this is the end of the world" thing.
Yeah.
I told my cousin yesterday. She texted me and she was like, "Hey, just is this legit the end of the world or end times? What does it say about the end times?" And I was like, "Look, Peter said, I think it's 1 Peter 4:7. I think is what I quoted. I was like, he said the end is soon to come. And back then, way back then, a couple thousand years ago, he said the end is near to come. Was he talking about AD 70 at the destruction of the temple? I don't know. But Jesus said we would never know. You can't, only the Father knows when the end is to come.
Right.
We look at these signs and things and we try to figure out what the Bible says this and this has happened and this might be this might be that. It's like, look, live every day without fear. Live every day in wisdom. Live every day like it's your last in terms of how you treat people, how you love people, but at the same time...
And the opportunities that you should take.
But at the same time, don't be unwise in going out and just blowing all of your savings or all of your retirement thinking this is it, so I might as well just, party it up or even Christian party it up or whatever.
Right.
Just try to be wise and have discernment and ask God to really give you a sense of wisdom in this time, because I feel like too many of us can just throw everything up in the air and think this is it. And then it's not it.
Well, or even just be in fear of it.
Yeah.
I think that even Christians still are scared because they question whether or not I'm really saved. Am I really going to go? Am I going to have to endure some sort of, trials or something? Am I going to be able to, live up to it or whatever?
Pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib.
Yeah, 3/4, 7/8 trib. And the thing of it is, we have this saying that, well, it's not the end of the world. And in my family, we say, well, it's not the end of the world. And even if it was, it just means that we all get to be in heaven. Yeah. So, from a legit Christian perspective, hey, don't worry about it, because if it is, we're all going to be in heaven, so it's not going to matter anyway.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that we may endure, even temporarily here, it's just that it is temporary. But I see this as also an excellent opportunity to be able to reach out to folks. This reminds me of 9/11. So right after 9/11, everybody gets scared, and churches were just overwhelmed. I mean, they were packed out.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, there were opportunities that I think that were missed there. one, the church wasn't ready for the influx. You know, people were scrambling. They didn't know what to say. They hadn't prepared their congregations, that sort of stuff. But right now, as a Christian, and we're a Christian podcast, so I'm speaking to all of my brothers and sisters out there, you have more opportunities now to be able to lead people to Christ, because people are going to have more of an open mind and more of an opportunity for those kinds of discussions, because people got questions. And, you know, don't lead them back to, oh, you know, well, end times, let me scare you into accepting Christ, but rather that, you know, that peace that you have, because you're walking fearless, but you're walking in wisdom. Can you tell me more about that? Can you explain that? How is it that you have that? And those opportunities are what's going to lead people into wanting a legitimate relationship with Christ. And so this is our time to shine, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I don't, you know, I want to caution against the concern earlier, you will not fear the terror of night, but it will not come near you. A lot of people kind of use this as the idea of, oh, well, I can snake handle. I can handle snakes, and God's going to protect me. If the snake bites me and the Lord is with me, then the venom won't mess with me, stuff like that. This isn't the time to be like that. You know, a lot of people do that and they die, and they probably shouldn't have died. So that's kind of the thing that I would concern, just kind of point out. But, you know, we do pray for all of our listeners out there. We don't want anybody to contract anything. Be concerned about those around you. Be wise, be smart. Don't live in fear. And make sure you got plenty of toilet paper and coffee.
Just show love.
Toilet paper and coffee, two most important things right now.
I agree with coffee.
Yes.
Toilet paper, I don't know, man.
You can stay in the shower and just rinse it off.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that we're actually in National Bidet Month or something like that. So
There you go.
If you don't know what a bidet is, Google it.
But we're